It was thought that Saïd Aouita of Morocco might pass up the 1,500 meters. Many thought that he would go head-to-head with Steve Cram in the mile. Aouita talks about why he decided to run the 1,500 meters.
But I think it's not possible to run together, because when I am all ready to run, he isn't already. And when he's already, I am not already. For example, I am already now. If I run tomorrow, for example, for him, I am sure he isn't accept to me to run with him, because I am already now and him not.
Marty, your reaction?
Well, I think he is in shape to beat Steve Cram, but I think Aouita is the one that won't go into the race right now. Aouita knows he's in world record shape and he wants to attempt it unencumbered.
All right, the people you might want to watch, if there's going to be any competition to this man from Morocco, is Charles Marsala, who's from Indiana, third in the NCAAs. Jans Peter Herold, wearing number 28. He's from East Germany, the fastest 1,500-meter man in that country. And Abdi Bile, the NCAA champion from George Mason. He'll be wearing number 49. The world record, 3:29.46, and they're underway.
Aouita set that record in 1985 in West Berlin. He's going to be going after it tonight. His race Thursday night in Helsinki at the mile convinced him that he was in good enough shape to go after a record. And what's happening here is there's a couple of pace setters in the race. The first one is a local Norwegian, followed by number 54, Ray Flynn, who is a 350-miler in his own right, and Aouita is right there on his shoulder. Aouita's going to want to stay tucked in as long as he can, because unlike some of the other nights we've had here in the years we've been coming, it's a bit windy tonight.
Kjell Sandgren of Norway is the other man that started out fast. He is leading the pack right now as they've made the turn and head into the backstretch. Aouita, 26 years of age, the first person since 1951 to hold the 1,500 meters and the 5,000-meter record simultaneously.
Well, he's 2 seconds ahead of his world record pace. It's been very quick so far, and look at him. He looks wonderful. He looks relaxed. The problem at this level of competition is he can't find a pace setter who can even run the first 3 laps for him. He needs 350-miler Ray Flynn, and Ray Flynn is going to have to run one of the best races of his life just to take Aouita 3/4 of the way through the race. You see Flynn checking for Aouita right now, and the pace setter from Norway will drop off right about 600 meters. He's slowing now. They'll go by him fast. They're ahead of the record pace.
The 1,500 meters, 120 yards shorter than the mile, and now you can see the dropping off is the man from Norway. Flynn still leading. Aouita is running in the second position. He is in the yellow singlet. Later, the Dream Mile coming up. We'll have the world record holder, Steve Cram. Right now, the world record holder in the 1,500 meters, running second behind Ray Flynn.
Well, the amazing thing is that the rest of the pack is with them. They're still 1 second ahead of world record pace, but there's still 6 men in the race. Abdi Bile, the NCAA champion, is still up there. I believe Charles Marsala has dropped off into the second pack, the American, but the East German, who has run 3:33 this year, is now moving up. He's the fastest man in the world this year at 3:33. Jens Peter Herold has come onto the scene. He's number 28. I can't believe there are 8 men or 6 men still in the race.
The world record is 3:29.46. You see the time on the screen as Aouita now has taken the lead. Aouita in the backstretch. The Olympic champion in Los Angeles in the 5,000 meters. He set the 5,000-meter record here last July 27th.
Aouita is not having an easy time pulling away. Jen's trying to go. He's closing on the record. They dropped off about a second on that lap. 3:29 is his record. He's got the wind at his back now.
Aouita now putting some distance between him and the rest of the field. It's going to be Aouita. Now can he get there quickly? 3:29.46 is the record. 3:29.46, and he's not going to make it. 3:30.69, the unofficial time.
He just misses it. Aouita, who holds the world record in the 5,000, the world record in the 2,000, has been within a second of world records on 4 other occasions and just missed it. He has missed world records by small margins more than any other man in history, and he knew it coming down the final straight, too.
And so Aouita, the world record holder in the 1,500 meters, has won here. Coming up later, the Dream Mile. We'll have Steve Cram, the world record holder in the mile.
And he's done it!
Steve Cram is one of many who have conquered it. It's something that has become part of everyday phrases to denote a distance that is far away and unreachable. For centuries now, we have been fascinated by the mile. In the 17th century, servants or footmen raced ahead of a traveling party to set up accommodations. It was a race bet upon by their sedentary masters. The distance they raced was called a mile. Pedestrianism. That's what foot racing was called in Great Britain in the 19th century. Walter George, an apprentice chemist, was the great amateur of his day. He became part of what has to be called a dream mile when he met Will Cummings, a top professional, in a time when professionals were not highly regarded. In 1886 at Lillie Bridge, Walter George won in a time of 4:12 3/4. 30,000 people were there, and great dreams of the mile were born. Many runners achieved fame in the years that followed, like Paavo Nurmi, who in 1923 ran the coveted distance in 4:10.4. 1934, Glenn Cunningham, his legs strengthened after a childhood accident, sets a world record of 4:06.7. The mile was dominated in the 40s by Gunnar Haag and Ann Andersson of Sweden. In 1945, it was Haag who ran 5,280 feet in 4 minutes, 1 and 4/10 seconds. Certainly someone could run faster, and whoever that was would be immortalized forever. That someone was Roger Bannister.
It didn't seem logical that someone could run a mile in 4 minutes 1 second and not in 3 minutes 59 seconds, and I felt that it had become a psychological barrier just because of the magic of these 4 laps in 1 minute each, making a round symmetrical magic 4-minute mile. And I thought, well, if I don't try it tonight, then I may never get another chance, and someone in America or Australia will do it first. So I decided I wouldn't forgive myself unless I really attempted it.
On a rainy, misty night at Iffley Road Track in Oxford, England, Roger Bannister changed track and field forever. The very next day, he returned to work at St. Mary's Hospital. From Sag Harbor, New York, to a place where they are not celebrating July 4th. You know it's not a holiday in Norway. Marty LaCourie is joining me. Marty, once Roger Bannister eclipsed the 4-minute mark, how was the mile able to sustain itself as a premier attraction in track and field? I mean, the lure, the excitement was gone.
Well, I think it was still the 4-minute mile. Anyone who takes up the sport is immediately amazed that Roger Bannister's feat is familiar to everyone, especially my parents' generation, that your aunt knew the intimate details of what Roger Bannister did. And I think even today, more people in the world know who was the first 4-minute miler than the first man on the moon. So the 4-minute mile has always been important. And after Bannister did it, then the race was to see who would be the first American and the first African. So then it was the first 4-minute high school miler. We have had the 4-minute mile for years, whereas the other events in our sport never had an eloquent spokesman like Bannister to really do something special that captured the imagination of the world.
Now, we only have a couple of seconds, Marty, but I know that the primary players in the mile are with you in Oslo, and we're not worried about whether they break 4 minutes, but what is the matchup? How does it shape up there?
Well, just minutes ago, Saïd Aouita missed the world record in the metric mile, the 1,500, by 1 second. Now Steve Cram will have a chance to come back in the Dream Mile and answer that challenge. He set the world record here when we were here 2 years ago, and he almost has to break the record tonight to come out of this meeting as the star of the show, because Aouita has just run a terrific race.
All right, Marty, I know I'm looking forward to it. The site is Bislett, many world records there over the years, nearly 50. The Dream Mile is coming up on ABC's Wide World of Sports in a moment.
Saïd coming in with a time of 3:30.69, which is a little over 1 second off of his world record. Abdi Bile, the NCAA champion, was second, and Steve Crabb of England was third. We're just moments away now from covering the Dream Mile. You know, this has become a media event, a showcase for the world's greatest athletes. The Bislett Games of 1987 has attracted 170 journalists from 120 countries. 22,000 people shoulder to shoulder jammed in here. Very enthusiastic crowd, and really a very knowledgeable crowd. And now we come to the event everybody's been waiting for, the Dream Mile. They're hoping to get the record. Thursday in Helsinki, that outstanding run by Aouita was only 34 hundredths off of the world record. What's that going to do to this race?
Well, Cram knows that the record is soft. He spoke to us earlier about the possibilities of it going lower.
I think a truer indication of the time we can run is probably 3:44. You know, I think Aouita and myself are both capable of doing that sort of time, given, you know, the right conditions, the right competition, and obviously being in good shape. I mean, that's why Aouita was able to run 3:46 in Helsinki the other night, when he wasn't necessarily in great shape yet, and, you know, it was a cold evening. And maybe here I might do 3:46, 3:47, but I know that, you know, I'm nowhere near 100% top shape. You know, that's going to come in September. I mean, if I run 3:46 here, I know that I can do 3:44 or faster.
Marty, I tell you, you better worry not just about a time, you better worry about American record holder Steve Scott.
Well, although the pressure is there for a record, you've got to remember that Steve Scott came very close to beating Cram in this race last year. And he knows that if he had moved a little bit easier sooner, he would have.
Things are pretty much the same this year as they were last year. I wasn't confident going into last year's race, and it showed the way I ran. I ran behind and then started moving up on the last lap, and actually felt like I could catch him in the last 100 meters. And it's more or less the same type of feeling this year. I'm looking for that one race that'll really get me going in a positive direction, a positive note toward the World Championships.
So Cram will go for the world record. We talked about the shoulder-to-shoulder crowd. Let's get some of the ambience. I think it's going to be picked up very well here by Catherine Schweitzer. She's in the stands to find out why these runners are encouraged as they run around the track.
Hey, Kathy, help me from people walking through. An incredible 46 world records have been set here on the Bislett track, prompting me to ask, what makes this place so special?
It's the springing track.
What do you think?
It's a clear Norwegian air.
Some people say it's the tight turns and the fast straightaways that produce these fast times, but one thing is for certain, it's an incredible crowd. There are 22,000 people crammed into a stadium that supposedly only holds 19,000 people. It's standing room only. They've been here for hours, cheering and clocking their favorites. Hey, what's that special Bislett cheer you all have? The magic of Bislett is simple. It's the people.
We're ready now to set the lanes in this Dream Mile. On Kukler from Holland, third in the European Championships. Steve Scott, the American record holder. Jose Luis Carrera, the 23-year-old from Spain. Jim Spivey from Indiana, the U.S. champion. Niels Kim Hort from Denmark. The U.S. World Indoor Champion from Villanova, Marcus O Sullivan. Then the world record holder, Steve Cram, wearing number 41. The man who will go out and set the pace will be James Mays from the United States, and the British champion, John Gladwin. The record, 3:46.32, set 2 years ago here in Bislett in 1985.
Certainly, everyone who was here when they saw that 3:46 knows that this man, Steve Cram, could have run faster that night. And there's a lot of pressure on him to run a record tonight. Earlier in this evening, Aouita ran the 1,500 meters in the equivalent of about a 3:45 mile. So Cram, who's been considered the best in the world for 2 years now, really has to settle the score. Aouita won't meet him on the track, so they've got to send these times through the mail as it is. James Mays now of the United States going out, doing the pace-setting chores. They're going to have to run 56 seconds for the first lap, and Cram is already moving in the second as Mays has gotten away from the rest of the field. It's not a weak field. They should have gone with the pace-setter, and there's no sight yet of Steve Scott. He's in last place, same as last year.
You see the time as they're about through the first quarter. He'd like to make this first quarter in about 56 flat, and that's just about where he is. He's right on time.
It is just about perfect. Jim Spivey and C. Scott, you can see them in the back of the pack. Should Cram misjudge his fitness at this point in the year and not be ready for the record, they may end up closing on him at the end of the race and maybe catching him in the straightaway. But Cram looks magnificent now. The problem is James Mays can't go more than 800 meters, and Cram's going to be on his own for a long way.
In third position is still John Gladwin from Great Britain. Mays is leading Cram as they come now into the second lap. He'd like to make this one at about 1:53. You see the time on the screen. Mays still with the lead. He's going to take him through the halfway mark. Third is Gladwin, the native countryman of Cram. And starting to make a move now is Marcus O'Sullivan.
Miraculously, the wind in the stadium has dropped. It's dead calm down there, perhaps for the first time all night. As Mays moves wide, he made it for 700 meters. Cram will be on his own. We'll see if the pack working together is going to be able to cut him down. Jim Spivey moving into third right now as Cram is on his own.
Cram was ahead of the pace he wanted to have. He was some 1.5 seconds ahead of the pace at the halfway mark.
Okay, this third lap is where he slowed up when he ran last year, and even in his world record. This is the lap which he must have been thinking of for 2 years. This is where he's let up in the past, and this is where he's got to stay on pace and maybe pick up time vis-a-vis his record of 2 years.
He'd like to reach us now the three-quarter mark in 2:50. Let's see if he can do it. 2:50 is where he wants to be after three quarters, and he is there. He is there. He's got a shot at his own world record.
He's got it. Marcus O'Sullivan in third, and Jim Spivey are still closing, but it looks as if Cram is going to answer Aouita very loudly with a world record of his own down the backstretch. Cram seems to be pulling away.
The record again, 3:46.32.
The noise is deafening. Spivey is closing the gap now, but the race is over. It's the record, and Cram and Spivey will get second. But Cram closing on the record. It's concentration now. It's mental concentration.
3:46.32. Watch the screen. Can he get it? Cram digging hard, 3:46.32.
He is dead tired. I've never seen him so slow in the last 50 meters.
He doesn't get it, 3:50.08. Coming in second, Jim Spivey, the current USA champion from Indiana.
Wow, a lot was answered in that race. He was way below world record pace, but he could not hold it.
So Cram, through three quarters, was right on, in fact, a little under. But as Marty said, he tightened up down the stretch.
There's no question that had he run against Aouita tonight, he probably would have had his clock clean. He is not in shape yet for the world record, but he gallantly went out to try and get the record, even though he wasn't in shape for it, and he paid for it on the last lap.
Well, he's considered to be one of the best milers around when it comes to a kick, but it just did not happen. 60 seconds in that last lap. Jim Spivey, the U.S. champion, finishing in the second position. So Catherine Schweitzer is on the field with Steve Cram. Let's see if we can pick him up down there.
Steve Cram, a wonderful gutsy effort, and especially in that last lap. Tell us about that last lap, especially.
It went on forever. I was very fast at the bell, but that was because we didn't have any pacemaking on the third lap, and I just got a little bit carried away. But I'm still pleased enough. I mean, it was disappointing because the crowd were fantastic, and I would have loved to have run a record, but I said before that I'm not in shape to do it, and not under those circumstances either.
Last night you said that you had been real happy with a 3:48. You were 3:50 today. Where does that place you for the next few months?
Oh, pretty well. You know, 3:50 isn't an earth-shattering time, but under the circumstances it was okay. Very early in the year yet. I've only had 3 races, so yeah, I'm quite happy with it.
The world of miling produces tremendous rivalries, and we have waited a long time watching out for Co and Ovet, and now we're waiting a long time for Cram and Aouita. So how long are we going to have to wait, Steve?
Until your appetite is really whetted, and then just when you're ready for it, then we'll race each other. I don't know, it may be a while yet. You know, maybe we can come across to America and do it. I know it's Independence Day over there, so I'm going to say hello to John and Nancy in Denver, and all my friends up in Oregon as well. I know we'll all have a happy Independence Day.
Great effort. Good luck in the World Championship, Steve. We look forward to good things for you. Back to you, Gary.
Thank you, Catherine. A very poised, a very confident man.
Well, he's not rattled. He's got 2 months to the World Championships, and he knows he's on schedule to win there. And Aouita said, well, I don't want to spring it on Cram tonight. Just because I happen to be in fantastic shape, I'm not going to show up and clean his clock. I'm a gentleman. So we'll see what happens as the season progresses.
And so we had the 2 record holders coming in here winning, not in the kind of time they possibly wanted to, but winning convincingly and looking ahead to the Worlds in Rome and, of course, in 1988 when it all takes place in Seoul, Korea. You'll be hearing a lot about the 2. So for Marty LaQuarrie and also Catherine Schweitzer, this is Gary Bender saying so long now from Oslo.